Welcome to Archery Talk 101 podcast, your guide to better archery skills. We'll bring you the latest tips, tricks, and expert advice, but that's not all. We'll also have interviews with top archers and industry professionals and reviews of the latest gear and equipment and much more. Have you heard of the Archery Talk 101 Facebook group? You should come join us and watch and interact with the podcast as recorded. You can do this in real time. You can interact with the show, ask questions, and participate in the show. So you want to be a competitive archer. Hi, my name is Roy Canterbury. I'm going to be host today on Archer Talk 101. And we have a competitive archer on the line with us here. Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Roy. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So introduce yourself and tell us, the audience something about you.
Okay. My name's Jeremy Balderrama from Texas. I shoot a lot of ASAs. Just started with indoor and field, so I'm more on the target side, but got started in archery a little bit later in life, not like a lot of people where they started real young. My dad was more into gun hunting. He has some messed up shoulders, so he was never really on the bow side. But I happened to have something that I posted on Facebook of all things for trade, and a guy was like, "Hey, trade you a compound bow for that," and I was like, all right, yeah, I'll give it a try, and picked it up. The bow was I had no idea about draw length. I had no idea about poundage for the bows. I just picked it up and started shooting it. Come to find out later that it was way too long. Like, I think it was like a 30-inch draw length, a 31-inch, and I was like a 28. So it was terrible, but made some good shots. I actually shot a deer with that bow. Shot a buck down in South Texas, and it just kind of progressed from there.
So that's kind of interesting. My first bow, was 32-inch draw length, and I'm 29 and a half. I didn't know any better. And then once you learn, it's amazing how much better you shoot once you get, the correct draw length. I shoot 29 now because I extra bend in my arm. Up here in Nebraska, we have some pretty cold hunting season. So we have to wear big, heavy coats, and, at that half-inch shorter draw length, I don't have to put an arm guard on. And, you don't smack your arm. And I bet you smacked your arm a few times being too long a draw length, didn't you?
A number of times. There was one. So I shot for a while, ended up shooting that deer, and then just kind of life got in the way and kind of just put the bow up for a little while. And then me and my wife, we moved up to a town called Brownwood. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I got some places I can hunt up here. I was like, I'm going to get back into archery. And so I picked the bow up, and I had a knot. I mean, by the end of it, I had like a softball sized knot on the inside of my arm, slapping my arm so many times.
Yeah, that can happen. And that can be, pretty painful, when you start getting those, because it swells up. And then on top of that, after it swells up, then it doesn't
always seems
really
to find the
go
string
down, and then you hit it more. And yeah, so I see you've got some pretty good scores in there. What made you get started in target archery?
So I ended up I got a bow, and I actually put the bow that was way too long and everything. It was it was a PSE Fireflight or First Flight or something along. It was an older, like an early 90s bow, and ended up talking to a guy that was real big into archery, real big into deer hunting and everything, and talked to him about it. And he was like, man, you need to find a bow that's your right draw length. Let me help you find one. And so he helped me. Ended up getting a couple different Hoyts, and whenever I got those Hoyts, and they were newer, it was like a Maxxis 31 and a Nitrum, I think, and so they were newer bows, and I was shooting, I was really enjoying it, and I just happened to get on a Facebook group, and a guy that wasn't too far from me, he was up in Lubbock, which is about 3 hours. He was like, he goes, he had posted some pictures of some 3D shoots, and I was like, man, what is that? Like, what are you doing? Like, man, that's pretty cool. Like, is that a competition or something? And he was like, yeah, it's the ASA, the Texas ASA. He goes, have you never heard about that? I said, no, I never seen it, never heard anything. Didn't even know competition archery was really even a thing other than like the Olympics, with the Olympic recurve bows and things like that. And he was like, man, there's a shoot over in Weatherford, which was an hour up the road. He goes, it's this weekend. He goes, you don't have to sign up or anything. He goes, you can just come out there. It's like $30, or you can shoot a fun round. He goes, I recommend a fun round and come out and have a good time. And I'll just kind of show you around. So I went out there with him and ended up doing really well. I shot better than everybody that I was shooting with him and all these other folks. We shot the same distances. I was shooting it was a single pin slider for hunting. It was a HHA sight, and was shooting that and was doing really good. And I was like, by the end of it, I was like, oh man, I'm in trouble. I was like, I fell in love with it. It was fun, and I've been finding more on the indoor side, shooting spots and everything. And then I'm going to be shooting my first field shoot this year, which starts up in April, and really looking forward to that. And I don't even really hunt all that much anymore. I actually took my target bow hunting one day, sighted in for broadheads, and went and sat up in a tree with a Hoyt Invicta, which is a bow. And it ended up shooting a little doe with it, and it was pretty interesting. But I bought another bow recently that I'm planning on doing 3D and indoor, or 3D and hunting with, and then I've got another bow on order that I'm going to be doing indoor and in field with. So I can't get enough of the competition.
I know it's a lot of fun when you get into that, and I like going to 3D shoots. I shoot spots, develop my skill into 3D shoots because it's kind of like hunting.
Oh yeah.
Not exactly, but it's close enough. Judging that yardage is the key, and
yes,
picking your spot. The key is pick your spot.
picking the spot's the hard part, because you can pick the wrong spot pretty easily and be out of the area that you need to be in.
Right. Yeah, and not even hunting and forgot to even pick a spot and completely missed the deer. Like, what's going on? I take a field tip, and I picked out a leaf and I hit it. It's like, and I missed the whole great big deer, completely missed it, and it was like 10 yards away. I just drew back, forgot to aim.
It can happen, especially with everything that's going on.
Yeah. I hate to admit that you do that, but hey, it all happens.
It's part of it. It's always part of it. Missing an animal's not, to me, isn't huge. I mean, it happens. Yeah, it stinks, and you wish you hadn't done it. But one, it's better than just wounding it and it running off. And then two, for me, it's then you learn something. You learn, okay, I need to really focus on this one aspect a little more during this time. And it's just those little learning experiences. But I kind of look at those as.
Yeah. You learn, it's like, okay, I gotta aim. When you go out there, you gotta pick a spot and aim for it.
Yep, got to focus on that one little extra aspect.
Yeah. And the nice ones is when you see a buck coming in, you're just barely got in your tree stand, and you have time to get your bow set up, get your arrow knocked, and draw the bow back. And you don't have time. You just seen a rat coming, so okay, it's a buck. It's a deer, but mostly, and it steps out, and then you shoot, and it's not till later that day when you realize how big the rat actually was.
Yeah.
Got back to my store, and I'm sitting down on a chair in the range, and there's windows out there, and my truck's backed into the stall, and I can see the rack sticking up over the back of the truck. It's like, ooh, that was a big one. Didn't even realize until then it was that big.
Oh yeah, and I imagine y'all have some monsters up there too.
Yeah, we do. Our fawns run in 60, 80 pounds for our fawns and adults. Depending on which part of the season you're in, of course.
Yeah.
The fawns you can lift and truck and throw them in back by yourself. But
that's some of our does around here.
Yeah, the full size ones, you can't lift them in by yourself unless you're really, really strong. Because they're you're lifting sometimes 150 50-pound animal up, and that's quite a bit to lift up into a truck.
Oh yeah.
So what has been the biggest challenge you've had so far?
I'd say it's, with everybody is what I refer to kind of as that shot anxiety or target panic kind of stuff. I mean, everybody gets it. I'm starting to deal with it a little more than I have lately. I think it, it just kind of comes down to just anticipating the shot and just your body kind of anticipating that initial shock of the shot and wanting to, you want to hit that X or the 10 or, that spot on the animal or whatever. And just getting that kind of that shot anxiety kind of going is one thing that I've been trying to work on a lot lately.
Yeah, that's always a challenge, and there's a lot of different things, that can cause it. And I had a guy on one of the podcasts a while back that was a hypnotist, and he looked at, archers, and he was a coach as well. And, how that can kind of help, because you just kind of clear your mind. We all do that. We all about thinking about something else. You might be thinking about the last shot. You might about thinking about something you just did in the past or something you got to do, later on that day.
Mhm.
And then once you do that, then you forget, what you're doing. And he kind of went through and kind of helped that. And I know for me, I've had places where they try and hypnotize you, and it doesn't work for me. But you know, but what does work is, just focus on where you want that arrow to go. Just concentrate like nothing else exists except for that center of that X ring. Not the whole
Mhm.
ring, but the center of the ring, and focus it on that and concentrate only on that. And you're not thinking about the drawing process, because you're only focused so hard on that, like you're trying to drill a hole in it. And it's amazing how many times you actually hit that hole,
Oh
right in
yeah.
the center.
There's all sorts of things like, I try to do, me personally, I know a lot, or there's a number of folks that do the command shooting or punching the trigger, whatever you want to call it, where you physically put the dot or put the pin or whatever in the middle of the target and you consciously hit that trigger. Personally, I try to do I use a hinge for my shots. I mean, I use a hinge hunting. I use a hinge in target. I don't even own a thumb button, or I don't even think I have an index release anymore. Um, but I try to do a surprise shot on all mine. And one thing that I've been told that and it's kind of funny. So one thing that I've heard in podcasts, I mean, Paige Pierce talks about it, and some other people have talked about it, is basically like either singing a song in your head, so you're everything's subconscious of drawing the arrow back. You just try to focus your eyes on that X and not really think about the actual shot. You try to think about something else and keep your mind occupied. Sort of like whenever you're driving a car. If you've ever had that point where you've been driving for a few hours or something and you just kind of daze off, but you're still focused on the road, everything's still good, and you get about a mile down the road and you're like, was that light green? I don't even remember if it was or not, because you're on autopilot. So that's what I try to do with my shot is go into autopilot and shoot. And I've been doing pretty well with it. One thing that I have been doing lately is so I have a 3-year-old, and he's really starting to find his voice and talk a lot. And so he's been singing, and he's been singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider. And so whenever I'm shooting, I'm sitting there singing that song in my head to not focus on what's going on. And it's seemed to help me quite a bit. I mean, it's really, I mean, because my thing um, is I'll be sitting there watching the pin, and my shot anxiety comes from it's sitting still. I'm like, I need this shot to go off right now. And so I just kind of just jerk. And whenever I do that, I can actually see my pin go from sitting in the center to just kind of all over the place, and then fires usually low is where it generally goes off. And so I've been really trying to focus on, not allowing that to happen, because it's all in my head. I mean, it's all me saying I need
Yeah.
to now, and then I'm thinking, oh, I need the shot to go off now, and not holding pressure on the bow, and then I loosen up a little bit, and it's just kind of goes from there.
Yeah, kind of like what now you're thinking about the hand and making it go off. So what are you not thinking? What are you not doing? You're not aiming anymore.
Yep.
So as soon as you try and make it go off, you quit aiming. So what are you going to hit? Don't know, don't care, because you're not aiming anymore. So
Uh-huh.
that's the, that's this thing that, people try and do that. They're not, I've seen people with their finger clear up above their eye, and they're going to shoot, just go there and just cram on the trigger. And it's like, dude, by time you get that finger moving, and
Yeah.
a lot of times, the target panic comes in, your fingers on it, and your eyes see the pin float across target. You don't focus on the pin, focus on the target, because the pin's going to move.
Yeah.
Just let it move. And what people will do, some people will, is as they see that pin go across the target, so they come across, they're on the target, and they say, okay, pull trigger, shoot. It moves off the trigger, just don't shoot. So
Yep.
it's like one of those don't shoot. The emergency reaction, okay, stop is a quicker reaction than telling to go. So then they start doing this, and the next thing you know, you're constantly doing that. And yeah, I've seen
Well,
that
then,
a few times.
I mean, you can see it on even the big stage. Kyle Douglas, who's a huge, well-known 3D indoor. He's a very well-known puncher. That's what he does, and he does it really well. But if you go back and look, I don't know if you followed the Vegas shoot or anything like that, or if anybody, if your listeners did or anything, there's a really, really good moment of, I mean, just pure target panic. And it was in the final shoot down. It was a gentleman by the name of Chris Schaff and Kyle Douglas, and they're shooting down for the final arrows. $50,000 on the line, I would have target panic too.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody in their right mind would, but Chris Schaff's sitting there and he's working through a shot and everything's going off great. But Kyle Douglas, you see him, he's got his thumb there and he just kind of just twitches. And I mean, you can see it clear as day, but he's good enough that he didn't just slam it whenever that happened. He twitched, came back and kind of resettled in and then went through it. But you could see that where inside of his head, he was like, it's sitting perfect. I need this to go off right now. And that's whenever that happened. And he goes, oh, wait, hold on. And then kind of just relaxed again and then made it go off. And I mean, he ended up making a great shot. But you could definitely see that right there on the main stage. I mean, the highest archers there are in competitive archery, and they have target panic. So
yeah.
But yeah, you're talking about that kind of thing. I always refer to that as like the rattlesnake bite, because you'll see they'll be way up here and they'll just slam it. I mean, just pull their hand through and hit that thing as quick as they possibly can. And usually 9 times out of 10 it doesn't work very well, but it's that one time that they're like, they make it just happens to be coming back through and exits off in the X ring, and they're happy about it. So I mean, if it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah. I know when I was teaching people, I used to instruct a lot of people. I've been an archery instructor since '95, so I've taught lots and lots of people how to shoot. And what I would do is, when I'm teaching them, is I'd have them draw back, get everything all anchored. Okay, put your finger above the trigger. Do not pull the trigger. You're not going to pull the trigger. Your only job is to aim. So they sit there and aim, and I'll put my finger on the trigger, and then they're aiming, and then I'll just pull the trigger. And 9 times out of 10, they hit right in the center, right where they want it to go. And
it's not a bad little exercise.
Yeah, have somebody else pull the trigger, so you don't know when it's going to go off. And that is what the shot should feel like. Now you know what a surprise release is. If you know when it's going off, you're not aiming. I can tell. It's like, okay, you can either aim or you can pull the trigger. You can't do both, because when you're pulling the trigger, you're thinking about pulling the trigger. And I'll always use another technique. It's like, okay, up like you're shooting, hold the finger out. Now concentrate. I'll pick a little bitty spot. It says focus on that. Like if you take your eyes off, it's going to blow up and you're going to die. And then, so if concentrate, now make your finger move without thinking about it. Because when you think about it, you have to stop watching the spot. And they can't do it. They're like, that's why I'm going to teach you how to shoot without using your finger to pull the trigger. And a lot of little tricks, you learn over teaching, lots and lots of people how to shoot. And, it's a lot of fun, when you finally get somebody, it's like, oh, new archers. That's the best feeling right there, is when you we help a new archer, all of a sudden they get that first bow, you get it all, you go through all the work, you pull it back, and that first arrow goes off, and they actually hit, pretty close to where they're going, the first shot. It's like, whoa, this is fun. Kind of like you went through. It's like, oh, this is fun. And
You,
then
you
you're
see that
hooked.
little light bulb go off above their head.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's always a lot of fun when you see that light bulb go off, and
Uh-huh.
it's always nice when people come back and have good stories that you've taught, and that's always a good thing. And it's if you're open for somebody to help you, there's somebody out there that will help you with whatever your problem
Oh
is.
yeah.
Kind of like you did. That
Yeah.
story you told was really good. Somebody you didn't even know, just seen them, and next thing you know, they're helping you get started and going out
Mhm.
with you. And of course, then you kind of out shooting them, which is
It was funny. His at the time, his father-in-law was there shooting, and he was like, "Man, we're never inviting him back again." Joke, but he was just like, "Man, like I can't shoot around you anymore." I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like, I'm just having fun." I think that's one thing too, is that if you focus too much on your score, that that usually you don't do as well, because you're just constantly like, oh man, dropped another point, or oh, dropped another X or something like that. And that was one thing I always struggled with. I also used to calf rope. That was one thing that I used to do. I used to do a lot of rodeos and stuff. And looking back at it now, I was always, oh man, I got to be the fastest time, got to be the fastest time. And I'd be riding behind them, and I'd get ready to rope them, and I would just completely mess up, or just have something completely go wrong. And it was because I was focused on the end result, not what I was doing at that time. And so that was always one thing that I've been working on forever, is focusing on the moment, not the end result. Just being in that time frame. So I think that's been helping me with a lot of things too. Because especially whenever it's your first time out, if you're shooting a fun round or something like that, score doesn't matter. So you just go out there and you have fun. And then next thing you know, you're like, man, that's my best score I've ever shot. Well, you just need to do that during the actual competition, is just, focus on what you're doing and not worrying about the score. And I'm always shot with people that, oh man, I dropped another point. I'm like, dude, don't worry about that. Just think about shooting your bow on the next one. Like, think about, making a great shot. Don't focus on that X ring, or not focus on it, but don't focus on, having to shoot the X ring, or having to shoot that 12 or 11 or whatever you're trying to shoot at. And, just make a good shot.
Yeah, it's not about the fact that I missed one. So now you put that missed one in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, I got 9. I got 9 of them. That's a little different, mindset. It's like, okay, I got 9 on this one. Okay, I got 10 on this one. Good, I got 10 on this one. Don't think about the misses. Think about what's the positive part. And that's a lot of mindset that goes on in anything in life. That's it's not just in archery, but that's the whole thing. What is your mindset? And I know I've had times when I went to go shoot and I shot 5 arrows, 10 arrows, and quit, because my mind wasn't really, I wanted to, but when I got there, it just wasn't working. And don't fight through it. Just do it another day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one thing that always got me is the people that mind ninja themselves, or put a subliminal message in their head. Like, for instance, I was shooting a 3D shoot here in Texas one day, and one of my good friends and his stepdad were shooting with me, and they were like, he made a shot, and he was like, oh man, I keep dropping him low. I keep dropping him low. Well, guess what he did on the next one? Dropped it low. So he did on the next one, dropped it low, because he kept saying, oh, I keep dropping it low. And say, oh man, I need to hit it higher or something, get that in your head, versus, that you're aiming low and then trying to, make up for it.
Yeah, that right there, what we've been, talking about the last few minutes here is just, that mindset, what do you think about? And that's the whole key is, where's your mind at? And that's where, we all struggle with that. You always have that negative and kind of thoughts there. You just, as we get a little more into it, we just start pushing those negatives out, and keep saying, I don't have. Well, you're not going to have, you never will have. So,
Yeah.
like you, I think I think I seen you had a 354X you shot.
Yeah,
Was that you that
actually,
posted it?
yeah, I have. So I've shot a 54X. I haven't shot under a 300 yet, on a 5 spot. But I've shot a couple 54s, a couple 56s, 57, 58. I've actually been, I just got laid off from my job recently. So I've been using this time to apply for other positions, and I have an area where I can go shoot. So I've been shooting every morning, and my birthday was on Saturday. And so I've been just constantly shooting. And so on my birthday, I shot a 56X. Then the day before that, shot a 56X. So I've been in that upper mid 50s area, which I know I can do better, but I'm happy. I'm happy with where I'm shooting on those.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. And for the new shooters, explain what all that means. You have your 5 spot targets, you have your white area, and then inner ring, or it's an X ring. I know there's
Yeah.
a few people
So
that new that don't know what we're talking about.
yeah. So there's two different faces. There's a 3 spot and a 5 spot. The 3 spot, I think, is a little more difficult because you have a ring, and there's a bunch of little rings in there. There's a couple different colors. So there's a yellow, which the whole yellow is going to be a 9. There's an inner 10 ring inside there I think it's a little bigger than a $half. So it's like 2 or 3 inches in diameter. And then there's an inside X on that one, which is about the size of a quarter, that you're having to hit it at 20 yards. Then the ones that I've been shooting lately, which is the one that we mainly shoot in Texas, is a 5 spot, the NFAA target. So there's only technically two scores on it. There's either a 5 or a 4. The 4 is going to be the outer portion of it. It'll be 2 rings on the outside, which is going to be a navy blue. And then there's an inside ring inside there that's going to be white. That's going to be a 5. And then there's a ring inside that, which is about the same size as the 10 ring on a Vegas face, which is an X. So you shoot 60 arrows for the whole shoot. So the max X point that you can get is 60 X's. The max point number that you can get is 300. So you can get a 360X is going to be your the highest point value that you can get.
Yeah, there are all kinds of different target faces you can use out there, and it just depends on what shoot you're in as to what you're going to use.
Yeah. And then they'll use like the Vegas face in like a vertical formation, for like
Right.
USA archery stuff or world archery. We'll use those. It's a little bit different on that side. But yeah, I mean, I've been enjoying enjoying shooting 5 spot, because it's not only is it the hardest part of it, not only is shooting the X, of course, but the amount of arrows that you shoot at one point in time. I mean, shooting 60 arrows within a couple hours doesn't sound all that difficult, but whenever you're really focusing on every single one of those, it gets pretty tiring by the end of it. You're pretty well mentally drained by that shoot.
Yeah, you've got 60 times you're focusing your attention on, laser focused in one little bitty spot, and not the X ring or not the X, but the center of the X. For those of us that can see the center X, I have trouble seeing the center X because I don't see I don't see that well that far away anymore. But yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of mental and fatigue that you go into going through that much, and that concentration. And I know when I was doing engineering, I'd come home and it's like, okay, I'd sit down to relax and just watch TV, and my wife time me come. I said, well, what are you watching? I don't know.
Yeah, not even paying attention.
I'm just letting my mind unwind,
Yeah.
I'm not even paying attention. It's like, I don't know what's going on because I'm not really paying attention. I'm just kind of letting the mind, relax and then go on. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's there's a lot. There's so much to do. And there's a lot of game targets that you can use.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
tic-tac-toe targets you can shoot at, play tic-tac-toe. There's
Hmm.
darts, like a regular dart board. You shoot them with the arrows.
Yeah. And then
There's
there's the card game. They have
right.
they go across there where you
Yeah.
play like poker on there.
Yeah, I've got all those targets, so I know when I had my store, I I had those in there. So, and then you got the small little targets, like the single sheet size targets of different animals and a little bit bigger ones. And there's a couple other game ones. I don't remember what they were now, but it's kind of fun. We play the tic tac toe. You get your 5 arrows and uh, you know you can take a spot away from somebody if you want. You just got to get closer to the center.
Yeah.
So if you're right dead center, nobody can take that one away from you. So you got to be really, really good. And if you get off a bit, well, you can take it, but that's your arrow. So you might run out of arrows trying to take a spot away. And
Hmm.
that's kind of fun. And
Yeah. Which is always nice to have. The one thing that I always kind of wish that we had more around here. So being Texas, it's pretty spread out. I don't have a lot of folks that I get to shoot with all the time. Usually it's just me shooting by myself. So the little spot games that I've been shooting, I mean, more for score for myself, just as practice, but it's good to practice that way, because then you're aiming at one little small spot. Whenever on an animal, you have a pretty good area that you can aim through.
right.
But it's nice in some of the northern states where indoor is a pretty big thing, where you have more people that you can shoot with in that area is always a good thing. And then having those little games and stuff where you can invite people over and shoot a little tic-tac-toe game or play some cards with arrows and all that. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. And here where I live on the eastern part of Nebraska, you've got Lincoln and Omaha and Fremont. They all have clubs that you can go to and shoot. And there's several outdoor ranges. The game parks has a range that you can go shoot at for free, and some of the state parks have archery targets on them you can go shoot at. And
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, some of them though, I've seen some that's like, okay, if I haven't had more than my recurve, I don't think the arrow would get stopped. So you got to check the back stuff, because some of them are shot up pretty bad, and
Yeah.
just bring your own target then, because
Hmm. Yeah,
know,
which I can imagine. I mean, it's probably it's not cheap fixing those things. So
no,
usually the states kind of balk at spending extra money on top of other things.
yeah, yeah, that's there's that's the advantage up here, down there in Texas. You've got a lot of land. You're spread out, and you have concentrations of big population, but a lot of Texas there's not there, but big old ranches.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of hunting ranches and things around here, especially where I'm at. I mean, there's a ton of hunting, like private high fence hunting ranches is majority around here. But, yeah, we got a little. So there's a lot of little 3D ranges and like field ranges and things like that in the area. I mean, of course, they're spread out. Like I'm the president for the Brownwood Bow Hunters Association here, which we have a range on about 60 acres that we lease, and it's strictly 3D. We have a static range, of course, where you can go and shoot some bags and things, but there's not a whole lot of indoor. I have to travel for indoor. I mean, the nearest indoor range to me is about an hour and 30 minutes, and that's probably the closest one that there is. Most of them are about 2 hours. So it's a little different around here, but outdoor stuff here is huge because it's so warm all the time.
Yeah.
I've been out shooting in the middle of January and it's been 60 degrees. It's usual for around here for being able to shoot just about outdoors year round, unlike up there where you have your freezes and your feet of snow, and so it's not as common to be able to go out and shoot.
I think it was last February I was down by Austin, and it was really, really cold.
Yeah.
When I was driving down, it actually was snow.
Yeah. We've had some bouts of snow. Last year we actually had some right in February. This year we had a little bit in February, but we haven't had much since. But we had that what people refer to as the snowpocalypse down here, where it like 9 degrees in Houston, which is absolutely unheard of, and everybody had freezing pipe issues and things because they're just not set up for having any sort of freezing weather like that. I mean, I'm from Houston, and I don't think it ever got below 32 degrees there the entire time that I lived there. It was absolutely unheard of, and that's why a lot of people had trouble. But we get a little bit of cold weather, but it's not anywhere like up north. That's for sure.
Yeah, it don't take much. I know when I was in the Air Force, I was in Abilene, Texas, and 1 year I was there. I think it's 75. We actually had snow on Christmas Eve. Of course, it was gone by 10 o'clock next day, but
of course, yeah, it doesn't last long.
Yeah, actually, just a little dusting.
Abilene's not far from me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Abilene's just right up the road. We get I go up to Abilene just about every single week.
Yeah. That when I was there wasn't really much to do.
Yeah, it's grown quite a bit. There's a lot of thing up there. I'm big on, so I do some archery hunting, but my big thing is shotgunning. I love waterfowl. Waterfowl hunting is one of my big things, and so I've gone up towards that way, and here in town and down on the coast, and so I've done a lot of that kind of stuff. But it's fun.
Well, I think a lot of us archers, we're also, shoot shotguns, rifles, handguns, go out and hunt, fish, just kind of outdoors. And it's just a skill that we like to do and learn, and it's fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I see a lot of people that are in archery that love fishing. Like that's one of the things I see. Like it's everybody kind of like, especially in target archery, like everybody gets out of hunting deer because they shoot their bow more times than not for just target stuff. So their getaway is going out and hitting some fish.
Yeah.
Which I've always kind of found funny because there's just a bunch of them that I've seen, especially like pro archers. If you ever look, I mean, most of them are their other pictures that they post other than being out on the range is being in a boat fishing somewhere.
Yeah. Well, and when you look on my friends list on Facebook, either fishing or hunting. It's pretty much everybody on there is either an archer or hunter or fisherman. That's like everybody on there. There's a few that aren't, but that's just we just kind of connect together. And yeah, I'd even thought about one time, because I got so many friends that got on Facebook that fish. It's like starting a fishing podcast. Man, I had too much fun with this one.
Oh yeah,
this one's a lot of fun, and
I can imagine
get to talk people all over the world on, and everybody's story is a little different. And the thing that common theme that I have, the guests on there, it's like, if you're an archer, you meet another archer, you're automatically friends.
Yeah. I've met a lot of people through archery, and going to the national shoots and everything is one of my favorite things, because you meet people. Because you're spending hours at a shoot with these people, and usually you're in a group of some kind, and you meet some really interesting folks, and everybody has the same thing in common. They all like to shoot their bows, so that's
right.
Always a plus. So like I went to Foley, Alabama just a couple weeks ago, and went over there for one of the ASA pro-ams that they have, which is one of their national shoots. And I was paired up with a guy from, oh gosh, where was he from? He was from up north, I think over in Nebraska area, if I'm not mistaken. And there was a guy from Alabama and a guy from Oklahoma that was there, that was all in my group. And it was a fun group. I mean, we had a great time, and it's always, nice meeting people from other areas. And I've shot with some guys that I see out on the range that will stop and talk. I met a couple kids from Mississippi that, or they go to Mississippi State University, and they're on their archery team, and I shot with them, and we've become friends. I've been friends with them for about 2 years now from one of the one of the shoots. We catch up all the time, or we'll run into each other at one of the national shoots. And so it's really, I love that part about archery, is that, you know, there's a few bad apples in there here and there. You know, there's some people that don't really like to meet, but then most everybody is some of the nicest people that you could possibly meet.
Right.
Help you out with anything, or like, pros, if you have any questions or anything like that. I mean, I've sent a few messages or something to a few of them, and I mean, you get a response back. Not usually that day, but usually sometime in a reasonable time frame, and they'll, give you some tips or some pointers or something. And it's really nice. I like that part about the archery side.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody that's wanting to just start out in archery? Like that question, because there's always different ideas.
Yeah, I would say do it. If you're thinking about getting out and shooting, do it. Go to I'd recommend, the main thing that I always recommend is going to a well-established shop. Like, go to a place where, they have a good reputation and everything like that. If you can. Some people can't, just because it's not feasible. There's not any shops near them or anything. But the best thing to do is to go to a shop, get your draw length measured, test out a couple bows, test out as many bows as you can, because all of them are different. The grips are different, the feel's different. There's different axle to axle lengths, so the length the length of the bow is different. There's just a bunch of little things that some people like this, some people like this, some people don't shoot this one well, some people shoot this one better. So there's a lot of little variations, but I'd say go to a shop, especially one that has a lot of different bows, and start trying them out. Get measured on your draw length, figure out what you need, because that's the main thing, is knowing what your draw length is. And a shop's going to get you relatively close. They'll put you in the ballpark. But then, if you really want to get serious about it, you can fine tune that from there, figure out what works better for you and what doesn't. But I would say definitely go to a shop and get checked out. That's the number one thing right there.
Yeah, don't start off like we did with way too long a draw length and start smacking the arms. And it hurts when you hit them, especially get a little bit higher poundage bow. And avoid that.
And,
go to somebody who can avoid it real easy.
And it just helps you avoid some frustrations. You get out there, the main thing everybody talks about is hitting an X, or hitting the center, or hitting this animal in this spot, or whatever. And so if you get a bow that's too long or too short, then you don't feel comfortable. You miss your shots more times than you make them, and then you just get aggravated. And I mean, most people just put the thing down and just kind of quit from there. But so if you get something that fits you good, that you can shoot. I mean, it doesn't have to be, top of the line, doesn't have to be the most expensive thing in the world. Just something that you can go out and have fun with. That's key.
Yeah, you can take a pawn shop bow that you spend $200-300 on, get the whole thing set up, and sometimes you can find them. You got the bow, you got the arrows, you got a release, you got the sight, case, and everything. For $200-300. If it fits you, it's worth more than that $2,000 bow that don't fit you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because you're going to shoot much better with it.
And the other thing that I'd recommend too is, if you're in the north, or if you're in an area where there is a shop that has like an indoor range or something, usually they'll have league nights. If you go on a league night and start meeting people and start communicating and networking, gosh, you can get to try so many extra things. Like, I mean, I know people that go to these different league nights and stuff here that you're like, hey man, is that such and such, really? Is that a true ball? Like a true ball honey badger release? And somebody's like, yeah, man, you want to try it? I'm like, yeah, sure. How do you work this thing? And they'll kind of show you and everything, and you can, give it a try. Or I know people that have let people shoot their bow that they have. I mean, and that just kind of lets you know how great the archery community is. But then it also shows you, that you tested that equipment, you felt how that bow felt, and you can kind of see, oh, well, these stabilizers were a little long, or, oh no, these fit me really good, or I really like the way this feels. And so it really, going and networking and everything on that side is always great too, because you can meet a bunch of different people and get to possibly even try new things or get some tips and tricks on how to make things better. Or, it's always good to get out there and get to meet some people.
Yeah, and then too, a lot of us have been this for a while. Have, and of course, I had an archery store too, so I have lots of stuff on. I have boxes of different supplies, and you have, maybe you start off with a really cheap, wrist strap on there, and somebody has a little bit more expensive one that to go to a handheld or something. Well, they don't want the other one, so you can, they'll sell you these stuff, really good cheap price. It's still good.
Oh yeah.
My first wrist strap I bought from a guy, he's in the 90s. I still have it, I still use it.
Yeah.
It's a Scott.
Uh-huh.
And it's what I use when it gets really cold out up here, because I don't want to grab my handheld, which is aluminum, on my bare hand, basically, because you have to be able to feel the triggers and stuff. And I put my trigger on the handheld right here in the seam between the index finger and the thumb, because I don't grip it, that way I can't use my thumb to kind of pull the trigger, because it don't do anything. So as I'm pulling through, then it just goes there. Now, if I really had to, I could make, tighten my fist up and it will go off, but that's extra work that's not worth it. So I use that because it hooks to the loop on my bow. I use that when it's a little bit nicer weather. It gets really cold. Yeah, I gotta have a little bit more. I have to have a lot of my hand all open, and the other one, I just need the index finger out. I just need the whole index finger. Everything else gotta have a glove on it, keep it warm. And I can keep my hand in the pocket, and it's a lot better when it gets down in in the 30s, and your stuff is like frozen, and
yeah, your hand sticks to that handheld release.
Yeah, you're at that. It's like, okay, well, okay. and I have another one that I forget, True Fire. They had a handheld one that was similar to the one I had, and they sent one to try out. It was half the price of my Carter release. And my cost was half, so that the retail cost was half as much to try it out, to see is this going to work or not. And it works. I don't shoot it as well because you can feel the trigger moving. And I don't just feel the trigger moving, then it goes up. You start thinking about it, you see it moving. On my Carter, and I have the spring as hardest spring as you can put in them. I don't want any quick, easy movement. And then I have a travel set to basically, there's no travel in it. It might move a 64th of an inch is all it might move. And it's real hard. It does not move. My son has one, the trigger's lighter. I can't shoot it. As soon as I put my finger in it, wants to go off. And it's like, okay, I need a little more pressure than that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Setting them hot. That's what a lot of people do.
Well, I did that when I was on the rifle team in high school. We had our triggers set really light. They had to be at least 1 pound. They actually had a hook with weight on it. It was 1 pound. There was 1 pound total weight, and they would, cock it, take safety off, and slowly put it on there. And it had to hold that weight. If it didn't hold the weight, you had to adjust it up so it would hold the weight, because you couldn't have less than 1 pound trigger pull.
Yeah.
Now mine was always a little bit harder than that, but it's still, real light trigger, because it's shooting completely different. You use use the tip of your finger. In archery, I go back that second, not go back, because you don't pull the trigger. It's all completely different. And a lot of gun hunters try to go into archery and try to shoot it like they do a gun, and it don't work too well.
No, no, it doesn't.
Well, if they wanted to, the listeners or the watchers wanted to get a hold of you, how would they get a hold of you?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram. It's just Jeremy Balderrama on Facebook. On Instagram, it's Jeremy B Archery. On there, I'm always answering questions or anything that anybody might have. And I mean, I'm not a professional by any means. I've had some lessons from some pros and stuff that I try to, basically help share that knowledge. I've received. Because I just, it's not, or something to me, it's not, necessarily keeping the knowledge for you so you can, win in the long run or beat somebody else or anything like that. I like to share any kind of knowledge that I have on that side. It's, it might help somebody in the future. So I try to, I'll answer questions or anything like that anybody sends me.
Yeah, that's good. And I'll leave a link in the description, how to get a hold of you, so I can make it a little easier to get a hold of you. And that's as a coach, I always like to see it when you actually are out shooting me. If I can teach you to shoot better than me, that's good. It's like I don't have to be better than you at it. The same thing, when I was teaching martial arts. Of course, you have your experience. It's kind of hard to get the experience you have, but hey, you're teaching them and you want them to get good at what they're doing. And sometimes you have to teach different kind of lessons, but
and I've always heard the horror stories and things of people, giving somebody wrong information or something like that, which I don't think that's cool. I mean, I think that's really messed up to do, is to, tell somebody like, oh no, you need to untwist your strings all the way to where, there's no twist in them because you don't want twist in your strings or something like that, just to mess with somebody or have somebody mess their stuff up. That's just, it's uncalled for. And it's very, I feel like it's unsportsmanlike. I mean, I come from, I've come from, I'm a very competitive person, but I'm not going to lead somebody astray just to win. Like, I don't think I do not think that's right. And like for instances, I shot an indoor shoot with one of my really good friends, and we shoot the same class, and he was drawn back, and we had just switched the targets from, he was on the top side of the bale, I was on the bottom side of the bale, and we had switched them. And so he was supposed to be shooting the bottom side, and I was looking and I was like, man, he looks like I wasn't going to say anything to him while he's in the middle of his draw, but I was just kind of looking at it. I was like, man, he looks like he's aiming really high right now. Like, I really hope he doesn't shoot my target. And he shot one and it hit the target. And I was like, Tim, wrong target, the bottom one, like just kind of hollering at him to let him know, because I didn't want to be wrong and mess up his whole shot.
Right.
At his target. But as soon as I saw it hit mine, I was like, dude, you're aiming at the wrong target, man. You got to aim at the bottom one. And he was, oh man. And he was upset about it, but it was kind of one of those deals. I wasn't going to let him keep shooting my target and then be like, oh, he shot a 0. Like, that's completely uncalled for on that side. I've heard of horror stories of people doing that, especially in field, because with field archery. And if you don't know what if they don't know what field archery is or anything like that, it's an extremely fun game. It's what people refer to as like the complete archery game, because there's a lot of uphills, downhills, angled shots, all kinds of things. But there's a bale that has a lot of targets on it, and you got to know which target you're supposed to be shooting. And if you shoot the wrong one, then you shot a 0. Or things like that. But I've heard of people in major shoots, and it's mostly in the amateur side from what I've heard. Now I don't know if that's entirely true, but where they'll sit there and they'll watch somebody through their binoculars at this target that's 50 yards away, and they're shooting the wrong target, and then by the end of it they're like, haha, you shot a 0, you shot all the wrong target. Like, really, man, you sat there and watched me do all of that, and now you're just wanting to laugh at me now? Like, that just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And if you have to win that bad, then go ahead, you can win. I don't care. When you come in second behind somebody that's a cheater, they didn't really win. Then they got the trophy or something, but you know what you did,
Oh yeah. And then just about everybody knows that kind of person or anything like that. And so they kind of know generally what happened.
Yeah. Well, it's been great having you on the show today. Really interesting talking to you, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, hopefully hopefully some of the knowledge that I shared helped. But it was great talking to you too, and I appreciate you inviting me on here.
Yeah, it's a lot. I enjoy doing this. This is a lot of fun. So
Oh
my name is
yeah.
Roy Canterbury, and I've been the host today on Arch Talk 101 with Jeremy, and we've had a lot of fun talking and interesting stories, and we'll see you on the next one.